Hey guys, welcome today, man. Super excited. And we're here for Investor Fuel, the mastermind. And I was standing here the other day and Lou Brown wanders up, like the living absolute legend. Lou, so great to see you. I'm happy to be able to chat with you. Man, Lou was, when I started in real estate 22 years ago, you were everywhere, man. You were doing all the things on the circuit and speaking and doing all the courses, and you're still doing those things, still going strong.
That's right. That's right. It was funny. You mentioned one of my students.
Yeah.
This morning.
Kirshner was one of yours?
Kirshner was
we
one of
talked
mine.
about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always do believe in giving credit where credit is due, for sure.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Well, it's been a fun ride for sure. I've been in the game for over 40 years, buying,
Wow.
holding, and selling
Yeah.
real estate, and we've done some amazing transactions.
Yeah.
And over time, I was a landlord.
Right.
And in the landlord world, I found out there was a lot of things I didn't like about landlording. There was
Right.
a lot of things that were not exciting.
Right.
And I like a whole list of
The
things.
tenants, trash, toilets, all the things, right?
Exactly. And trauma.
Yeah. So many calls in the middle of the night, all the things.
I had this aha moment one day, and I sat up in the middle of the bed. And I said, "Thank you, God, for showing me real estate.
Yeah.
The only problem is all these problems."
It's the things that come with the real estate, right?
And I actually made a list of things
Yeah.
about what I didn't like about being a landlord.
Yeah.
And I said, what is it that I can do to get on the other side of the table
Right.
and be on the side of the table with my client?
Right.
And by the way, we changed it from calling them tenants to clients.
Perfect. I love it.
And the reason is that we changed who we are for them and
Yeah.
who they are to us.
So that perception change. But I like that you ask good questions. I had a mentor early on who said, asking good questions gets you good answers, right?
There you
So you
go.
don't have to just suffer through it. Just figure out a better way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was one of the questions I asked myself is, do I see myself sustaining? Do I see myself doing
Yeah.
this 10, 20, 30 years from now?
Right.
And I said, one of the things I discovered over time is that people not only want to make money, they also want to make a difference.
I agree with that.
And,
100%.
and it was an evolution for me to move from landlording into really what we are now. We provide what we call the path to home ownership,
Love it.
and we help deserving families end up with home ownership,
Yeah.
regardless of credit or financial background.
Right. And that's so important because especially when we went through the crisis in 9, 10, 11, like it got really hard to get bank financing, and not everybody is financeable, right? Like some of us are 1099, and there's just people in a lot of different situations who are good people and have a family and want a good home. And I love that you have this program that provides that for them. And really, I don't know of anybody else who really teaches it the way you do.
We flipped the script. We decided to flip the script, said, let's find the customer first. Let's find out about
Oh, I
that
love it.
customer.
Yeah.
How much down payment do they have? How much can they afford on a monthly basis?
Uh-huh.
And then let's custom buy a property. If we don't have it in inventory, let's custom buy a property for these people
Love
because they're going to love it because they help pick it out.
Yeah.
And instead of just having something that they have to settle for. So that has been a real game changer for us, and the profitability is wonderful. I mean,
Yes.
you're getting amazing customers. They're often taking the property as is. So as you know, one of the pain and suffering of being in the
Lord.
business is having to do the rehab.
Yeah,
right?
the turns.
Well, we don't do rehabs now. We have customers that are willing to do some or all of the repairs,
Right.
and we give them credit towards their move-in fee or down payment or option fee
Outstanding.
in exchange for agreeing to do that. And then we're giving them an opportunity to someday end up with home ownership.
Oh, I love it. And that's the thing about us as investors and wholesalers, and we get into this business to make a difference and to help people. So I love that you're able to help the seller, get out of whatever their situation is, but more importantly, help these people achieve home ownership, which is literally the American dream.
Well, you'll love this. We actually involve the seller in it.
Really?
We when we go talk with a seller, we present them our book. It's called Doing Good While Doing Well.
Nice.
How real estate investors provide a service and make a difference. And so then in front of the seller, I'll actually fan out the book and tell them we're part of a nationwide network
Yep.
of affordable housing providers.
Yeah.
And they're seeing incredible credibility, right?
Yeah.
Because number one, I'm handing them a book and gifting it to them there. And then we go through a full-blown presentation,
Right.
old school, full-blown, hey, tell them who we are, what we do, how we operate, how we can help, how we're different than our
Right.
competitors, things like that. And then we get to the end, and the seller actually helps us arrive at the offer price.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. How did you get into real estate? Like,
That's
tell
a
me
great-
that little bit of a story.
That's how much time you got?
We got until his card runs out on his computer or his camera.
Well, I tell you what, it was a great experience in my life. My mother was a war bride. She came over on the Queen Mary.
Right.
She had met her American trooper husband. Everything was going to be fantastic. This was at the end of World War II.
Yeah.
And she got here. She found out he was an alcoholic and an abuser. So then she met my father, her second mistake. So it ended up just being the two of us.
Yeah.
And literally, you're in this country, you're from another country.
Right.
You have no brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, aunts, or anybody to support you.
Yeah.
And then I'm in this country with no brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, aunts to
Yeah,
support
yeah.
me either. So we really learned how to support one another and
Right.
just kind of like us against the world.
I
We'll
love that.
figure this thing out. I don't know how, but we figured it out. And my mother had a friend, and so I called her friends aunts and uncles, and so this was Aunt Mabel, friend of hers.
Yep.
And find out from Aunt Mabel that I'm 8 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
Aunt Mabel has bought the duplex that she lives in.
Right.
And she tells me, I'm 8 years old now, she tells me that she has bought it and the people on the other side are paying enough money in rent to cover the mortgage.
And even at 8 years old, this resonates with you.
What resonated was she was living for free.
Free. Yeah. Yeah.
She was living for
She was house
free.
hacking before it was
And-
even a thing.
And I'm going, holy cow, she's living for free. And here we are hiding out from the rent man.
Right.
And
right.
that rent man's banging on the door saying, where's the rent? And so I said, I'm going to start paying attention. And I was very excited, and I would ask her questions. I was kind of a precocious kid.
Yeah.
And I would ask her a
What,
lot
you
of
were chatty
questions.
as a kid too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
can't
for
imagine.
sure. And so then she bought the duplex next door. And then she bought the duplex next door to that one and the one next to that one. Talk about target marketing,
Yeah,
right?
right.
she lived on the street that she bought.
Yeah.
And they had a great lifestyle. She got a new car every other year.
Wow.
She didn't like to cook. They went out to eat to the steakhouse every night. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just awesome. So I just said, I got to pay attention to this. And so sure enough, at 16 years old, she says, come over here and help me move. I said, move where? She said, a brand new house in a brand new subdivision,
Wow.
all brick home on a corner lot. I said,
Literally the dream.
the dream,
Like the lottery
the
dream.
I mean, it was so awesome. And I said, Aunt Mabel, how did you do this? And she said two words that changed my life, David. She said, accumulate property.
Yeah.
And I went, aha. So it's about the cash flow. It's not about the flips. It's not
Right.
about all of that. It's about get with it, stick with it, have income off of that property potentially forever.
Yeah.
And that's what I started doing. So at 18 years old, Aunt Mabel says to me, you need to buy a house.
Love it.
So I'm living in apartments my whole life.
Yeah.
Never lived in a house in my entire life.
Right.
And here she says, you need to buy a house. So sure enough,
What amazing environment to
she
grow
even
up
sends
with.
me a resource. She sends me her friend, Realtor Sue,
Yeah.
who now drives me around at 18 years old like I'm going to buy a house.
Chauffeured you around. And in the back of your brain, you're like, I can't do this, right? But Aunt Mabel said to do it, so we're
But
doing
you
it.
know, one thing, David, that I learned is so amazing is I learned that you can take over existing financing. Back then, for $45, you could take over the existing financing on a loan.
Wow.
And I said, yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby.
And so that's exactly what I did. My first house, I invited my mother to be my first tenant. She paid me
Wow.
$100 a month. And it was just phenomenal because I said, if you'll cook some meals and wash some clothes and $100 a month, we can make this thing work.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure enough, we did.
Wow.
And I was transferred from Charlotte, North Carolina to Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
And just less than 2 years later, I made a 37% profit on that house.
Wow.
And I said, yeah, baby. And in the meantime, my mother took the leftover rent money and she
Uh-huh.
put it towards her debt, and she became free and clear for the rest of her life.
How amazing is
And
that?
so it was just a fun experience. You asked me how I got started in real estate, and it
Yeah.
was really Aunt Mabel.
Really? So you've always been in real estate from the time you got out of school?
Yeah, I actually worked for other companies for
Okay.
a while, and in 1983 is when I went full time in real estate, and I've never looked back since.
That's amazing. And so you went full time in real estate, and I know you were involved in some RIAs and all of that stuff, right?
I was founding president of National RIA
Wow.
back in 1993. Before that, I was the president of the Real Estate Leadership Association of America.
Wow.
And I was the president of Georgia Real Estate Investors Association.
Jeez. Yeah.
And then I founded National RIA out
Yeah.
of that experience, and proud to say they're still in business and over 40,000 members.
Yeah.
So it's been a fun experience.
So when did you decide that I'm going to speak on stage and I'm going to do that and help people learn the thing that I did?
It was the great experience of the RIA.
Yeah.
Because they came to me and they said, well, we need to have some training, Lou, and you've been successful in real estate, and we would love it if you would do a training. And I went, what? Who, me?
Who, me? Why me? Like I'm.
So this is back in the day of overheads and overhead projectors and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
What is it? Transparencies
The
and all that. Yeah.
transparencies and you're with the markers
Yeah,
and all the slides. And, I found out that day, I did a half-day training. It was highly successful.
Yeah.
And I found out that day that I had a gift for teaching.
Yeah.
And so they asked me again, and they asked me again, and they asked me again. And pretty soon it evolved to a monthly training that I was doing.
Wow.
Every month I was doing a different topic.
Yeah.
1 month on buying, 1 month on selling, 1 month on renovating, 1 month on business management, one on lease options, owner financing, buy offers and deal structuring, the whole enchilada.
The whole enchilada. Weirdly enough, right? Yeah.
And that's actually where the whole enchilada
Yeah,
came
yeah.
from these all-day trainings that I was doing, because I was forced to have to put together a curriculum
Yeah.
to explain to, and then people said, well, Lou, we'd love to have the documents. How do we get the documents? And you said, who, me? And so then I had to put together the documents, and then
Yeah.
they said, well, we really love to have this on a floppy disk. And
Yeah. Right. Or a CD or.
and then so that evolved, and then I'd really love to review this again, Lou. It's going to be a whole year before you teach this again. Can you make recordings of
Record
this?
it.
So we had that filmed, and so it was very granular. How
Kinda backed
we,
into it a little bit.
Very much backed into it, and I
Yeah.
was forced to by the local RIA.
Oh yeah.
and because they kept giving me a venue to be able to teach this, and it was just a wonderful thing, and I learned so much. And to this day, we continue to tweak and improve every single thing that we do.
Of course. Yeah.
And of course, now everything's online. It makes
Right.
it so much easier. Oh my God, this whole business is so much easier than it used to be back in the day.
Right, right. Oh, I tell people that, and you're of course been around twice as long as me, but I'm like, in the old days, like we had to drive around and write down addresses and put out bandit signs and go put sticky notes on the door, and now you
Listen-
kids have all the toys.
Hey, listen, if you wanted to know anything about a piece of real estate, you had to drive down to the courthouse,
Right.
park your car,
Yeah.
and you had to go inside and look things up, and
Yeah.
they charged you a fortune to make copies and all of that stuff. And lived all of that, and then pagers came along, and then
Pagers. It's funny, Lou. I have this fantasy. Sometimes I'm laying in bed at night and go, geez, if I could have started this when I was 18. And then I think it through a little bit. I'm like, how would I have even comped a property in 1990?
Yeah.
Like, there was no online service. Like, what did you even do? Like, how did you figure out what it was worth?
you almost had to back into it.
Yeah.
How much rent can I get for this property? How
Yeah.
much are other people paying? You looked in the newspaper and you would find out how much people were renting their properties for.
Yeah.
And then you'd say, okay, now how much can I get for this one? And you'd kind of back into
Guesswork,
the value
though.
of the property.
Some
It was
guesswork.
It was very much guesswork, and
Yeah.
hair on your chin and chin chin.
Yeah, yeah. And now, I mean, it's literally so simple. prop
It's
stream, prop wire, whatever it is. Like there's
yeah.
so many services out there that can you
We
can
have a
dial it
great
right
one.
in.
We have our WebWiz that we
WebWiz,
make
right?
available to our clients, and oh my God, it's got AI built into it.
Does it
So
really?
it
Wow.
actually is quite amazing
Yeah.
because it's got a score from 0 to 1,000,
Uh-huh.
and it actually tells me which properties, and I can draw a box around a neighborhood
I
and
love it.
actually discover all the vacant, potentially vacant properties. I can discover which ones have certain bank financing
Yeah.
that I'm looking for, and to be able to take over existing financing. I
Yeah.
can look for everything, and I can determine which ones are the highest score, highest possibility of
Wow.
sale. And it gives me that score so I can actually take all the 700s and above and take an afternoon and buy properties
So
in a
wow.
neighborhood. Talk about shooting fish in a barrel.
I know,
I
right?
mean, when you compare it to where we
I was
came
going to say,
from,
could
right?
you imagine going back to 35-year-old Lou Brown and going, here's this software, and you can do all of this with that? You'd be like, this doesn't even make
I
sense.
would pass slap out.
Yeah.
And now it's just, this business is so much easier than it used to be, and so much better, because really now we've evolved to helping deserving families end up with home ownership
Yeah.
regardless of credit. And back in the day, you were just scrapping trying to find a deal.
Right.
So we can do so much more now. We can impact communities, impact families, impact generations to come.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel so good about who we are and what we're doing now compared to what it was back in the day.
Yeah, I love that. Because as investors, sometimes we have the worst reputation. Like, we're, and I don't know when this happened where in the United States, like you looked up to people who were wealthy and did good for the community and they were revered a little bit. And now it's like you're vilified for, and
Well, you're
I don't know.
vilified by people who don't understand,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's one of the things that we do have to do as real estate investors is
Yeah.
we do have to change our spots.
Yeah.
And back when I was running National RIA, that's exactly what I said. And I said, we have to become affordable housing providers. Forget about the word real estate investor.
Yeah.
Give that up. You can talk
Yeah.
about it in a room full of real estate investors, but when you get out in the public, talk about what service you provide to the community. So I invented the affordable housing provider, and then I invented the certification of that.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
certified affordable housing provider.com, by the way.
There you go.
And and you can actually have a business built around a brand.
Love
And
that.
you can take that brand into the market, and there's people in all 50 states doing it,
Yeah.
and they're all offering the Path to Home Ownership program.
Right. I love that. That's absolutely amazing. Lou, thank you so much. I mean, I can't think of one person in our industry who, one, has been around so long and has done so much to not only just impact all of real estate, but really to help educate people and really give them, not only homeowners, a path to home ownership, but people who wanted to do something better with their lives, right? To really, give them a future where they could provide for their family and do all the things that they wanted to do. So you're absolutely a living legend. And I told you when we were at Family Mastermind, I was afraid to come over and talk to you because I'm like, oh my God, that's Lou Brown. Like, so no, I really appreciate it. And, for just being an inspiration for everybody.
Well, David, I'm glad you did come over and talk
Yeah.
to me, because you're an inspiration as well.
Well,
You
I
help
don't
a
know about
lot
all
of
that.
people, you educate a lot of people, you give them some guidance and support, and it really makes a difference in their lives for sure. And obviously you're providing an amazing service that
Yeah.
every real estate investor needs.
Yeah.
So it's just a perfect marriage for
Awesome.
sure.
Lou, it's so
Yes,
great
sir.
to see you again.
Yes,
Thank
sir,
you so
brother.
much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Yeah, baby.